Good evening, my name's Nigel and this is Talking Sheffield. Today is my first attempt at presenting a TV show, so I hope you'll bear with me. And to help me along, I've chosen two friends to interview tonight. The first, in the first half hour, will be Vicky Seddon, who's the Co-Ordinator of Sheffield for Democracy, a local community group that campaigns on democratic issues. The second, after the half hour, will be James Locke, who is the Managing Director of Opus Independence, the publishers of Now Then magazine. So, to my first guest, Vicky Seddon, welcome to the show.
Hello Nigel, nice to be here.
Good, thank you very much for agreeing to be my first guinea pig on this particular show.
I hope I don't show you up.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine. We're here tonight to talk about Sheffield for Democracy.
Yeah.
It's an informal group, local group, that's set up to engage and encourage greater participation in local democracy. Where did Sheffield for Democracy come from? Where did you start? Well,
in its current form, we started after the referendum for the alternative vote back in 2012. Mm-hmm. 2012, yes. But before that, there'd been a kind of a local Sheffield Charter 88 group, which had also campaigned around democratic questions, in particular to have a proportional representation voting system, a fair voting system. And then we had the big campaign around the AV referendum, which of course we unfortunately lost. And I can touch about that if you want me to later on, if we've got time. Would be good. But then we formed ourselves, those of us who've been active in that, we got together at the end of it and said, are we interested in carrying on? Do we want to disperse? What do we want to do? And sufficient people wanted to come together and stay together and continuing campaigning on a variety of issues to do with democracy. So we have a little steering group, mm-hmm. which is about 10 or 12 of us on it. But we also have a kind of a whole raft of supporters who are largely on an email group. And who we send out regular newsletters to. Okay. And we have about 200 people on so they kind of come to meetings and, occasionally do activities with us. So we're a little group, and then we have this kind of supporter base around us.
Very good. And what sort of people are your members? Well, what types do you attract?
What types do we attract? Well, it's quite varied. Some of us are older, mm-hmm. some of us are younger. Some of us are a mixture of men and women, and that's for me in particular, as a woman who's been involved in politics for a long time of one kind or another. It's quite important that we make space for women and encourage women. We have some members of the Asian community who are part of on our steering group, but also on our wider supporter base. So it's a mixture of people, but people who have somehow seen that it's not enough to be campaigning on single issues, because the ability to actually get your voice heard and for things to be done about those single issues, you bang up against the political system all the time, which doesn't give us a very ready access for, if you like, the people's voice to be heard and to be acted on. And so, sometimes it takes people to be quite a long way on into their lives before they kind of twig that, it's the system, or the lack of a fully fledged democratic system that prevents them making headway on their particular issues, and that therefore we've got to think again about the infrastructure of our politics and our political systems.
Okay, so in outline, what does the group do?
Well, we're a campaigning group, so we do a variety of things. If you think about, in preparation for this session, I was looking back over what we'd done over the last couple of years. And there were four things that kind of struck me what we've done. We've run hustings when we've had elections in Sheffield, whether it's a general election, whether it's the Police and Crime Commissioner, whether it's the the MEP election of the MEPs. Yeah, we've tried to provide a space where people can come and question the candidates about where they stand on various issues, so that you've got a kind of an interaction between the voters and the candidates in a very concrete, real, you know, not just kind of posh words being said, written down, and you know.
Because very often, as the viewers will know, actually being able to talk to the candidates is very difficult at election time.
Well, we've tried.
They're keen to get their message out, not necessarily keen to take questions.
Well, we've had, like I say, that's one of the things we've done, is to try to offer at least some opportunity for the public, and sometimes we've done that in conjunction with other people, like when we had the general election hustings in the Hallam constituency. We did it with the Crooks Forum.
Right.
And it's quite nice to work with other people, and we've done that in various ways. So there's been hustings. We were very concerned about the demise of the community assemblies, because whilst they weren't perfect, we did think they gave a good opportunity for people to engage with their local councillors about local issues, and for things to be aired, and questions. Again, the face-to-face, the interaction.
Because those were the meetings that were held about once a quarter, if I remember rightly.
That's right.
Across 7 different areas of Sheffield.
That's right. They were kind of, the wards came together.
Various wards.
And it was an opportunity to have a discussion. And whilst we were promised that something else would follow that as a replacement, we do understand that, of course, Sheffield's really struggled with its resourcing because of the cuts which have come from the government in terms of, I suppose, the austerity stuff. So, you know, we do understand that something had to give, but what we were promised, we don't think has worked very efficiently, and that's something we're still concerned about. So that's 2 things we did. We've also, last year was the 800th anniversary of the Magna Carta.
Indeed.
So we joined with the Crick Centre at the University of Sheffield, and we had a Magna Carta event to draw people together to say, can we think of Sheffield's input in what a Magna Carta for the 21st century would look like? Yeah.
Excellent.
You know, so we had someone come to facilitate it, somebody who was part of a national project around the Magna Carta. And that was a very lively evening. And people were backwards and forwards and talking about what they wanted. And like I say, we came up with a whole series of, and if people are interested, you'll find that on our webpage.
Yep.
Yeah, Sheffield for Democracy.
I'll give the details of that at the end.
Yes. So that was, and then all of those Magna Carta events all over the country, they had a meeting in Westminster in the House of Commons.
Right.
To kind of do feedback from all the different events and what had happened. So that was kind of quite interesting. So
although you're a local group, you do get involved both in local issues and national issues.
Yes, we see 2 national organisations being our sister organisations. One is the Electoral Reform Society, which campaigns for proportional representation in our voting systems, and the other is Unlock Democracy, that actually I'm the national chair of, so I've got 2 hats.
At least, I suspect.
And Unlock Democracy campaigns for a variety of issues. At the moment, it's really into looking at the links between the corporate world and lobbying and party funding, and how money seems to speak rather louder than the public. So sometimes we're looking at how we fit into kind of national campaigns, and certainly the Magna Carta project was part of that national. And sometimes we're doing things which are very specifically local.
Thinking about the local issues, what are the local issues that are the priority for Sheffield for Democracy at the moment?
Well, at the moment, of course, the devolution, the Sheffield City Region devolution deal, is very big in our minds, and we've been to sit as observers in the combined authority meetings and in the scrutiny board there, and we've asked questions about what the deal was as it was developing, what the deal was, how far on it was. what kind of public involvement there would be in the decision making.
Yes, because there's been a lot of concern lately about this being a deal that was discussed behind closed doors. It was all very secretive and was really presented almost, it seemed, as a fait accompli for the public as far as they were concerned.
Well, certainly, the Manchester, what they call Devo Manc, was very definitely of that ilk. Now, the Sheffield City region, I think they'd learned a few lessons because of the outcry there'd been about that. And we were promised a consultation. And there was indeed a consultation, which an online consultation. It was between the middle of December and the middle of January. So, unfortunately, over the Christmas period.
Not ideal.
But nevertheless, we did encourage our people to contribute. And I understand about 240 comments were made, inputs were made. And so that's been one issue that we've kind of quite concerned about. With Julie Dorr, Councillor Dorr has been insisting that it's not yet a done deal because there were some things they wanted to have resolved. One was about whether the North Nottinghamshire and North Derbyshire local authorities would have full rights, not just the four South Yorkshire authorities.
Right.
And the other was about whether or not the mayor, this elected mayor, which of course again is very controversial, would have a veto.
Right.
So, as we understand it, we've not yet been told at what stage it will come into the councils for decision.
Right. Okay.
So that's one thing we've been looking at. The other thing we've been looking at, and we're still doing quite a bit of work on, is the scrutiny arrangements.
Right.
That's certainly the Sheffield Combined Authority, partly because with this, if we do get this Devo mayor, it is the scrutiny arrangements which are supposed to be the accountability aspect of it. So there's that one. There's the Police and Crime Commissioner scrutiny arrangements, and then there's the Sheffield City Council scrutiny arrangements.
Which these are the arrangements that ensure that decisions are being made in a proper way, according to rules and procedures that are laid down, and that everything is done correctly.
Well,
is that right?
That's what they're there for. When the city government was changed from being a committee government to being a cabinet with a kind of a strong leader, and the scrutiny arrangements were meant to be the balancing bit. Now, we're not convinced that the scrutiny arrangements are very effective. Okay. And we have been in discussions with some of the officers and some of the councillors about our concerns about that. And we're hoping that some of those concerns will be taken seriously.
Okay. And in terms of council officers and councillors, how's your involvement seen by the council, would you say?
Well, my guess is we're quite a mixed bag, really. I mean, some people regard us as being kind of busybodies and, always putting our foot in it and getting, But I think in the main, whilst people might sigh a bit, I think because we try to be constructive in what we're doing, not, we're not just being critical, but we're trying to make suggestions, and I think we have some reputation now that we're not a fly-by-night organisation. We are here to stay.
Yep.
Yeah, and we will keep doing things and saying things. And like I say, we've tried to be constructive. For example, around the devolution deal.
Yes.
What we've tried to do is to generate some debate. So we put out a series of talking points about it, so that to try to get people involved in the arguments. And then we put another piece of paper out which had arguments for and arguments against it. So we were trying to kind of balance it so that people can have a little think about that and see where it stands. So again, we're trying to be constructive, and I mean, some people, being quite positive about what we've done.
Good.
And other people, of course, like in any sphere of the world, other people don't think we think we should go away really and let them get on with it. But we're not going to do that.
Good. And how important is the fact that you're not politically aligned as a group?
Well, for me personally, I would like, what was interesting, I was looking earlier on at what the Magna Carta for the 21st century, what the proposals were. And the very first one that we came out with in Sheffield was they'd like to see much more collaboration than kind of confrontation. We'd like the politicians to work together better rather than always being at each other's throats. So for me, that the fact that we try to work across party, that we we'll criticise any party that's not doing something that we don't like, but we welcome people from all parties into our supporter base.
Okay, smashing.
And also we try to make sure that if people do put rather negative comments onto our Facebook, that we're told that we want to try to have a respectful approach to different perspectives. So that's what we try. So being non-aligned is quite important, even though obviously individuals of us will have our own, can be political activists, but coming together as a group, we're very clearly non-aligned and we want to work cross-party.
Okay, and just briefly, what's the future for Sheffield for Democracy?
What's the future? Well, we will continue to campaign. We are looking at the moment at trying to encourage the city to move away from having its local elections every year.
Right.
To having, this year we're having an all-out election because the ward boundary changes moved.
Changes, yes.
So we're having to have an all-out election, and we think it would be much better to have that in general because it would mean if they're not in election mode all the time, they'd be more likely to try to find ways of working together. And of course it would save money, which is quite an important thing at the moment.
Indeed, a thing that's at the forefront of everybody's mind.
Indeed.
They've just put the budget through the cabinet today, I know.
Okay, right. I wasn't there, but I knew you were there, weren't you?
Yes, and that will be appearing at the full council meeting at the end of the month.
Okay.
That's lovely, Vicky. Thank you very much for your time today. Just to let people know that if you want to get involved with Sheffield for Democracy, you can see their website at www.sheffieldfordemocracy.org.uk. We are on Facebook and it is Sheffield for Democracy. So if you search for that, you'll find them on Facebook. And if you want to get involved, you can contact Vicky direct using her email, which is vseddon, SEDDON, at btinternet.com, and she deals with all the appropriate comment as far as the Facebook page is concerned, and as far as the web page is concerned. She's in charge, and the rest of us do what we're told.
Not quite like that,
if
Nigel,
only,
come on.
If only that was the case. Yeah. All right, lovely.
Okay.
Thank you for your time today, Vicky. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we finish?
No. It's a pleasure really to be part of the Sheffield for Democracy group because it is cross-party and wide, and we can pick up a variety of issues, and it's something I feel very passionately about, that our democracy needs to change and develop.
Because obviously one of the main things that you're involved in currently is continuing to campaign for proportional representation within the country. That includes local authorities and local elections. So good luck with that, because I think that would be a good thing as well. Make every vote count, as they say. So thank you for your time today, and thank you for listening to my first half hour. I'll be back in the next half hour with James Locke talking about the Festival of Debate.